Welcome to SFG Top Performance. Today we have our regulars with us, Jason and Derrick. They're going to bring us up to speed on what they're seeing out there.
Yeah, we'll start off with soybeans. The last couple of weeks have been interesting for them, and we're pleasantly surprised at what we're seeing in the fields. There's a lot of pods. There's even still some blooms that are making pods. Everything looks, relatively good for as dry as we've been in the soybean fields. We've had a couple rains here in the last week, and the pods are starting to fill out. I was kind of concerned they were flat for a long time, but there's starting to be some beans in there. There's a few concerns there, however. I'm finding quite a few bugs. There's a few aphids here and there, not enough to worry about. There's a few, little Japanese beetles still hanging around. And Derrick, there's up and down the waterways, we keep seeing these yellow spots. Talk to us a little bit about them.
Yep, and the biggest thing that's been out there that's showing these yellow spots on the edge that we've been seeing this year is the spider mites. It's been so hot and dry this year that they haven't been, I wouldn't say widespread, but they've been, you can go find them around in the countryside. I mean, no huge disasters, but areas that we've had to spray for, and then areas that we just had to monitor and that sort of thing. And Jason and I were both on a call yesterday, and we got kind of into nuts and bolts of spider mites, and then so did a little homework and figure out the life cycle, that sort of thing, where they come from, what do they do, and so just wanted to go over that a little bit with everybody. And so spider mite, what it is, it's actually a mite. It's not an insect. It's closer related to spiders than insects actually. And what they do is they overwinter as adults on the edges of field, in grassy areas, timbers. They have a lot of host crops. So there's a lot of crops out in the timber that the adults can overwinter on. And one thing that kind of surprised me a little bit, they don't just blow in, from the south in real hot and dry years. They're actually around every year, and they're probably out there all the time. The biggest thing is one of their biggest not competitors, or the biological control for them is a fungus. So there's a natural fungus that controls them. Their predator, that's what I was looking for. So in those hot and dry years, that fungus just isn't growing because there's no moisture for it to grow. So then the spider mites can repopulate really, really quickly. And then on the edges, when they come out of the timbers, come out of the waterways, that's where you see the yellowing, and then they just kind of work their way into bigger areas. We've been spraying some insecticide as well with fungicides to control them, and insecticides will control them, but we need a little bit higher rate on those. And a lot of times the rates we're using for the normal fungicide and insecticide sprays almost doesn't kill them all. Another issue with it is it kills all the beneficial bugs that attack them too. Lacewings are really important. Ladybugs are really important to eat those spider mites as well. So once you take away all the predators, you don't have the fungus, those spider mites, you can get a big flush, 2 or 3 weeks after we do spray. So that's something to keep in mind as well too. But Jason, how else do they move out through the field, or what else are you seeing that they're moving around?
There's a lot of, you see them, and there'll be a pocket here, and then you go a little ways, and it's in the poor soybeans. And I understand, and we've talked a little bit about this as well, but it's kind of neat to me how they can spin their own web, and they fly on that web, and kind of like a witch and a broom or something. They make their own devices, and they're for being as small as they are, they're pretty crafty because they're very, very small in bugs. Often we take a sheet of paper and shake the soybean when they're small populations, and they fall on that sheet of paper and just originally see if they're there or not. So, they're very small bugs. So it's interesting. They can be as crafty as they are to move around, and how they know that them beans are bad. It seems like the poorer soils, your white oak soils over in our area, we have a lot of them white oaks, and up and down your waterways and on the edges. And the poor beans that are struggling is where they seem to first show up. So they're very crafty little bugs, and that's of course where they first land, on the edge of the field. But they're crafty to get throughout the field for as small as they are. So
sure, because what they do is they have piercing, sucking mouth parts. So then those areas that are those areas are bad, those areas that are drought stressed, they go there, and it just shows up there first, because any nutrients, any water that's going up to the plant, these spider mites are taking it instead of going to the soybeans. So they can be pretty detrimental. And as far as economical thresholds for them, when they're 20% covered on the plant, which is actually, a pretty high amount. You got 20% essentially bug covered on on a plant, that's a lot. So these bad yellow areas all have that, but generally the whole field doesn't. So it's kind of a trade-off to, do you treat the whole field? Do you go spot treatment, that sort of thing? So this time of year, Jason, are you having people spray it here at the end of August, or kind of what are your thoughts?
A few weeks ago when we had them, we were doing some fungicide applications and we sprayed most of them with some insecticide to knock them back. So we did then. At this point, I think we're far enough along, in 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to start to see leaves yellow anyhow. So we're going to lose that chlorophyll in them and what the pods will be made by then. So at this point, I don't know. They have to be pretty bad to worry about application at this particular point. Yes.
Well, in corn, Jason, we're starting to see a lot of differences. We got a little shot of rain, things greened up a little bit. But what are some of the deficiencies? What are some of the yellowing, or what are you seeing in corn here the last couple weeks?
Well, I've walked in several fields and I've been told we didn't put enough nitrogen on, that we're nitrogen deficient. And I've walked through a lot of fields and I'm not seeing as much nitrogen deficiency as everybody claims. There are deficiencies in there, but corn works as a straw. It's the xylem and the phloem in that corn plant move the water up and down that plant. And it takes water to move the nutrients up and down it. So you can have all the nutrients in the soil that corn plant could possibly ever want. But if there's no water to put them soluble nutrients in to absorb them through the plant, it does no good for the plants. So I'm seeing a lot of potassium deficiencies and phosphorus deficiencies, and the purpling is the phosphorus. The potassium, it's a telltale sign. You walk out in the field and the midrib is green. That's not nitrogen deficiency. That's the potash. And it's not that maybe your soil has plenty of potash in it, but there's not enough water to suck that up through the plants. So late in the season here, a lot of them have showed up. I don't see as much sulfur as we often see. A lot of the tops look better than I expected. There's some, but not as much as we often see. So, it isn't as water soluble as some of the other nutrients, but it still takes water to pull it up to the top of the plant and everything. So, there's a lot of things. Our soil might not be short on these nutrients, so we probably need to soil test more this year than maybe we have in the past. Because if we think we have a problem, it might still be there. We just didn't have the water to pull it up and suck it up through the xylem and the phloem and make things work like they should in that plant. As far as the rain that we had here, a lot of the corn is well on its way. It's dented, so that's probably not going to help. A lot of the nutrient deficiencies aren't going to go away in the corn plant. They're going to stay there. And this rain's definitely going to help with test weight, but as far as the kernel fill and whatnot, it's probably there. And Derrick, I see you have some examples of some of that, and that's a little better than I see in a lot of fields, but some of it's similar. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. And so this week I had a side-by-side trial for some new corn products that we were looking at, and so I went and kind of wanted to compare it to kind of an older product and see where we were at. And like I said, this was on a pretty good flat and pretty good part of the field, but so I think that area of the field is going to be really good, and really overall from the crop tours I'm calling them around, the good parts of the field I think we're going to have pretty good corn, really. It's just those wet areas early on, the ones that gave up 3-4 weeks ago already. I'm just probably 10% or less of the field, if they're going to be at 50 bushel or nothing, it's gonna bring those averages down pretty quick. So it's hard to tell now exactly how much that's gonna affect us, but the good parts of your field are still going to be good, and so that's why we always focus on VRT on those. That's why we always focus on put the nutrients on those parts of the field, because last year the bad parts of the field helped. The bad parts of the field did just as good, but this year it's going to be the good parts of the field are going to be pulling it. But what we got here is I have two decal numbers. One is kind of your middle of the road, little bit older, little bit economical corn, I call it, and one is your high end type corn. And what exercise I was doing is just seeing if there's merit to it. So last year, the economical corn, this was like $2.20 a bag, and then the high end corn was $2.60 a bag. Brand new product, supposed to be real high yielding, both 112 day numbers. So I did the exercise, and this one I really believe in. I did 17 and a half feet, and I just picked 5 random ears out of it. Didn't do any cherry picking, just picked them. And we'll put the pictures up, and I'm pretty happy with my results, and I feel like I got some pretty consistent results. I hope the yield monitor shows the same thing. But I just did the yield estimates where you count the kernels around, count the kernels down, and all 5 plants, averaged them out, And so the $220 a bag averaged out at 211.8. So still really good corn. Again, it was on a really good flat. I don't think we're going to have average of 210 bushel corn everywhere. I'm not saying that, but in this particular area, I think it's going to be pretty good. Then the higher end corn, like I said, $240 a bag. It averaged out at 235.4. So what that difference is again, my estimates is 24 bushels. So the big thing is $40 a bag is a huge, $40 a bag is a huge amount, and that equates to $18 more an acre. So that's a lot more seed cost. I mean, you go from 220 to 260, and that's a tough pill to swallow essentially. But you put the numbers to it, and if these estimates are correct, and we'll find out this fall, 24 bushels more, even after that extra $18 an acre seed cost, that's netting $100 an acre more with that. So I know you spent $40 more a bag, but you got $100 more an acre for that, and that's a huge difference. I mean, that's kind of been the general rule of thumb. You want to try to make $100 an acre, and if you can plant this corn and you can gain that their $100, and hopefully you're already budgeting in, you can. I mean, that just makes a huge difference on the return on investment. So that's why, I know we come to people with high end products, but I mean there really is some merit to it that maybe you don't always want to look at the economical one. If you got a tough field that's not going to be able to pump out this kind of yield, yeah, it makes sense. And this is a more defensive type hybrid, but that's why we have these hybrids in the portfolio, and that's why we show people the high end corn. And I really do hope the yield monitor is going to be the true test to see what that comes along. But you can see just by the size of the ears that I really do believe there's going to be. I can easily see that 20 bushel difference in these products. So that's why we do this. That's why we have those and prove it to ourselves. So that's what when we can take a seed proposal to you and say, hey, I did this out in the field, and here are the numbers, and this is the chance we get. So that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing out there here this week. Charles, do you have an update on the equipment or application going forward?
Application's finally winding down. We're in great shape there. Got all caught up. Getting through sprayers, getting things winterized, getting everything fixed up, getting ready for next year, getting put away. Got a little bit of miscellaneous anhydrous work we're doing, trying to get things ready for fall. Getting ready for dry fertilizer, getting sheds topped off, and getting ready for harvest. Now also getting all of our other equipment put away, as in mixing equipment, anything we did for spraying and shuttles, and trying to get everything cleaned up, inventories. The Milo elevators come along good. If you've been in that area, the elevator, the leg is up, the overheads are up. Now we just got to put a few spouts up and get everything wired, and it's operational. It's actually looking pretty promising that it'll be running this fall. So want to thank you all for joining us this time. We will check back with you in 2 weeks.